Ni hao. Beleza. Amazing, really amazing. I was surprised. I knew there were waves here because back in the day, like in the 90s, I found waves in Vietnam and Malaysia, which is pretty much within the same swell window than Hainan. So I was always curious to know, if Vietnam has these waves and even Malaysia gets swell, I'm sure this island up there called Hainan might have even better waves. And I finally got to come here, and it didn't disappoint me. So one thing I want to explain. So the entity that I work for and that I pretty much had the operations. It's called WPS, World Pro Surfers. So this entity, it's like the Surfers Union, right? As I said, we pretty much we're the voice of the surfers, and we manage collectively their needs and their interests, and try to get what all the surfers' rights in place. But the WPS is actually funded by the WSL. So indirectly, I work for the WSL, but not directly. Just want to make it. So basically, I'm the guy that negotiates all the rights, all the needs that the CT athletes, men and women, have collectively. So I'm not their agent. Of course, they have individual agents. So they have their own sponsorships and they manage their own careers. But when it comes to decisions that they have to make together, in terms of what they need, for example, some sort of event that should be in a calendar or not, how long the calendar should be. So all those decisions, I pretty much help them to navigate. So for example, we just announced and we just closed a big program that will provide them a pension fund, just like a corporation. Like so, all the yeah. So basically, for every year that you are on the championship tour in the CT, there is a little money that gets allocated to your savings, to your pension fund. So once you retire, you can retrieve that money. They also have welfare assistance. So let's say if you need education to embark on a new career after you leave the tour, you can come to this particular fund that we set up, and you can use it. So let's say that you're a very good speaker, right? And you want to become a public speaker and do speeches for big corporations. Once you leave the tour, you can study to do that. Or, since you've been representing brands your entire life in your career, if you want to become a marketing person, we can allocate that fund for some sort of education that will help you to become a marketing person. So any career that you want to have after your surfing career that has synergy.
What about being a shaper?
Yes, but is there a school that teaches that? Maybe. It's more like mainstream sort of careers. Shaping. If there's a course that they want to take to learn how to shape, absolutely. But even like if they want to become a nutritionist and learn how to cook food for,
you can support them with their career and other academic.
That's right. So a lot of the things that we do basically to set up a path for their careers, like after surfing. So we try to see the future. So the pensions and the retirement fund is just a component of that. But also, education's a big part of it, or even the mental health. Like a lot of athletes, not only coming from surfing, but from any sport, once they leave their professional careers behind, there's a big void in your life, like a big empty hole that you need to fill. So how do you do that? So if there's any needs in terms of mental health or even vocational training to enable you to fill out this void, we can also deliver those solutions. There's so many things.
That's so softball.
Yeah, it's nice. It's more, think about, once the WSL came on board, surfing professional surfing became almost like a big corporation, right?
Yeah.
So we're treating the surfers like employees of a big corporation, and I help to navigate that.
That's amazing.
Yes,
Yeah.
I mean it's just like
That's
any other
amazing,
job,
yeah.
right? I mean you have to work very hard physically, mentally. You know, you have to travel, you have to get educated, you have to learn new languages, you have to know how to
Yeah, sure.
adapt to different cultures. I mean, it's
it's
your entire life
yeah.
dedicated to that. So it's not just about surfing.
Yeah, I know.
Like in order to be a professional surfer, you're not only surfing, you also, when you're not in the water, you're representing many brands, big brands.
Yeah, that's true.
That nowadays it's not only the what we call the endemic brands like the Quicksilvers and the Billabongs and the Hurleys of the world, but or the Quicksilvers. I mean, I'm sorry, the Rip Curls, but also normal brands like car manufacturers, like
Yeah, like
technological, like tech
Yeah.
companies and so forth. So we have to prepare the athletes to be able to be ambassadors of any brand.
Yeah.
The Chinese nation, for example, since you have a lot of support from the government. So,
Yeah.
well, I'm from Rio, in this beach called Arpoador.
Aquador.
Arpoador. It's a hard name. It's
Yeah.
Ipanema Beach,
Yeah.
and that's one of the very first places that surfing got introduced in Brazil. Principally the shortboard era. So Peter Troy,
Yeah.
an Australian guy who used to travel all over the world, he introduced
Yeah, I know. The shortboard revolution.
those exactly. So when it arrived in Brazil, pretty much was at the beach that I grew up.
Yeah.
So it was right there, right in front of my house. So when I was 9 years old, I had the fortune to be introduced to surfing. So I've been surfing since then.
Okay.
I was in the right place at the right time.
I mean,
That was a long journey. Like how did I go from being just a surfer to actually working for the WSL? Yeah. Well, even though I surfed my entire life, I never intended to work with surfing. Like when I first started surfing,
yeah.
there's no such a thing as professional surfing. Like was like in infancy.
Yeah, I know.
So I pretty much, went to school. I did
Just
the normal path,
things.
and I got very lucky throughout my career to be in the right place at the right time. Few times in my life. So when I was in California, living there in the mid '90s,
Yeah.
after I had lived in Japan, I lived in Japan for almost 4 years, from '92 to '95.
Yeah.
Then I went to California, and when I got to California, that was pretty much when the whole internet revolution was happening.
Oh yeah.
So I was in San Francisco, right by the Silicon Valley. So all these tech companies were there, and Yahoo, back then, which was a massive company,
Yeah.
they needed people that spoke languages, and that's how I got hired by them. And next thing I knew, I developed this entire new career in digital marketing, which
Okay.
brought me to some people that I knew at the former ASP.
Oh yeah.
So like in the like 2004, 2005, 2006, I used to do some marketing workshops to the athletes at the ASP tour. That's how I got introduced to a lot of the surfers,
Okay.
and I became friends with a lot of them.
Yeah.
When the WSL bought the sport, when the ZOC group bought the sport and ASP became the WSL, the surfers felt the need to have a corporate person looking after them,
Yeah.
but a corporate person who is also a surfer.
Oh yeah.
So it was perfect. Like I'm a surfer. I speak few languages.
Yeah.
I spent my entire life living at the places that surfing is so big. So in other words, Brazil,
Real.
Australia, where I live now for the past, I've been living there for the past 10 years, California, and Japan. So I was in all these surfing areas that pretty much have dominated the world when it comes to surfing. So it was just the right fit.
Yeah.
and let alone the fact that surfing it's a digital sport. Like the way people watch the content, like here in China, for example, you go to your phone and you watch
Oh
the
yeah.
heats, or you
Yeah.
go to your computer and you watch the heats. It's
Yeah.
not on TV. It's mainly
Yeah, it's
streamed
yeah,
online.
online.
So it's a digital sport. So with digital knowledge, I can help also the WSL to monetize their sites and their business, because it's a digital business at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So it's a combination of being a surfer, being a marketer, a digital marketer, and also being a global person who lived in many different
Yeah, and
surf hubs.
different language. Yeah.
So it helps. I just got
Cool.
kind of lucky. Like
So yeah,
I didn't plan on doing that. I was just
yeah.
like, I'm gonna look for waves everywhere and live like a gypsy and get educated and have a job so I can pay for my boards and my air tickets and
Yeah.
see what happens. And next thing I know, I'm working for the
That's pretty
WSL.
much the
Chopu,
Chopu. Wow, yeah.
Tavarua,
Havalua
yeah, in Fiji.
in Fiji.
Even though it's not gonna be on tour
Cloud
anymore.
Break?
Yeah, Cloud Break.
Yeah, Cloud
Yeah, the
Break.
wave is actually Cloud Break.
Yeah.
And then the third one, man, Jeffers Bay is amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
But I haven't been to Jeffers Bay.
You haven't?
I haven't been to Jeffers
You
Bay.
haven't been to there?
No.
Okay.
So I can't count that one because it's the only one that I haven't been to.
Well,
I was,
that's a pity. That's
yeah,
that's
well, my son was born
yeah.
during the
In
event,
the-
so I couldn't go.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so you met my little baby Noah?
Yeah.
So he was born the day that Felipe Toledo won Jeffers Bay.
Right.
So I couldn't be there, but I'm going this year.
How about Pipeline?
Yes, Pipeline is amazing, but it's too crowded. You know, I was there 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
The day that John John won, when the event finished, I surfed off the wall.
Yeah.
Actually, I surfed back door a little bit, and then I went to off the wall, and there's some perfect left, like going towards back door, just like 2 weeks ago. But Pipeline is too crowded. I can't handle the crowds.
And how about the artificial pool?
Yes, that was super fun. I went there in September, and gosh, I had a blast. I felt like walking on the moon.
Yeah, yeah.
One of the happiest days of my life. It was so much fun.
Yeah, because it's too perfect. Maybe in the later we'll get used to that. And
Yeah, that's the thing. It's not like a wave pool is not going to replace the ocean. No
yeah,
way.
definitely
Surfing
not,
is in the ocean. We know that.
yeah.
But it's a nice complement. You know, it's a complementary solution for
Yeah, exactly.
when the waves are not there. But it's not a replacement. So
Yeah.
it's super fun. It's really fun.
Yeah. And
Not necessarily.
not necessarily.
No, because the wind affects the wave.
Oh yeah.
So like,
Blows.
yeah, and the way I felt surfing the pool, like I could be wrong, but it felt like sometimes the machine that pushes the water
Yeah.
can go a little faster or a little slower.
All right.
So depending how quick it goes, I think the wave has
So
power.
you can manipulate the wave.
It's almost like when you're surfing the ocean, and then sometimes you have the same bottom,
Yeah.
but sometimes you have a 14-second interval swell, or like period swell, like 14 period or 12 second. You know, like
12 seconds. Yeah.
it kind of varies. Like
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
so, I don't think every single wave is the same. There's that notion that it might be, but based on my experience, it felt like the waves are actually different. It's tricky. It requires some understanding on water movement. You know.
Okay.
It's massive. Like I think among the young people, like within the youth, it's the second most popular sport in the country.
Just right after
Soccer, yeah, football, yeah. A lot of people surf in Brazil, and it's a big population, right? We have not as big as China, but we do have 210 million people. You know, it's the fifth biggest population in the world. So if you take a lot of the young people out of 210 million people that live by the coast, next thing you know, there's a lot of people in the water. And one interesting thing is that Brazil is bleeding talent. Like we don't have, like back in the day we used to have like Gustavo Kirten. He was a very famous tennis player.
Yeah.
So everybody wanted to play tennis because he was like a world champion.
Yeah.
So now that individual sports hero that we have in the country, it's called Gabriel Medina.
Yeah.
So everybody wants to surf because you know Medina and
Yeah.
and also Adriano. Adriano also won a world title. So
Yeah.
so people see like how people can surf and actually have a living and become a national hero.
Sure,
And there's so many others. I think Felipe Toledo will be next, and so yeah, it became a very popular sport.
Okay. That's the same thing like for the basketball in China. In Yao Ming plays
Yeah, yeah.
in the league.
There you go.
Okay. So, so do you think since we need to wait for a national hero to maybe on a city tour or anything to for the sport in our country to actually flourish?
That's a very good question. Not necessarily. I think, for example, in Brazil, you don't have a lot of support from the government, right? Like all those guys that made it in Brazil, they made it because of their families and friends and you know they did it by themselves. We don't have government support. I think China, you
Right.
might have government support
But it still takes some time for
oh,
maybe
long time.
for a surfer, to wait for a very talented surfer and
For sure, for
yeah.
sure. So what I think is that you can create some sort of program that can create talent, like the amount of waves they have here. Actually,
Yeah.
this is way better than a lot of places in Brazil. Like
Yeah.
Hainan has way better waves than most of the places in Brazil.
Really?
If I tell that in Brazil, they're gonna think that I'm full of shit. But excuse my Portuguese,
Okay.
but it's true. Like you have waves that allow you to improve, because they're perfect, like perfect lefts and rights too. So you just can get better and better and better. So if you have if you have enough funds or budget to buy boards, to provide the equipment and the tools for the kids to train, the waves are there. And the Chinese, you guys have always been amazing in sports.
National team right
That's
now.
right. So I don't think you need a national hero to flourish. You just have to work
Yeah.
really hard, and it's just beginning, right?
Yeah.
Like this is like Brazil 40 years ago.
Okay.
So it's gonna take time, but I wouldn't be surprised
Yeah.
if we see some good Chinese doing the QS and doing well, in less than 10 years.
Less than 10 years.
I think so, yes, because
So-
the supply of waves are here, so you just have to get in the water and practice.
Yeah.
And I'm having the help of PT and I met Michael the other day,
with
so.
the coach. Yeah.
I think it's important for the surfers here to travel to other places to get.
Yeah, we also have some other south bank coast that you can surf.
Yeah.
Because in the summer, the swell is coming from the south.
Yeah, the typhoon
So,
swells
Yeah, so
around
not
Sanya,
necessarily typhoon, but they got some regular swells.
south winds.
In the summer.
Yeah, but I think you need to travel to real waves, like powerful, Tahiti,
Bigger, powerful wave.
go to the South Pacific, go to Indo, which is right next door.
Yeah.
You get exposure to waves like that, then you have the full package. Because at the end of the day, you need to learn how to get barrel. Like just.
All right, so let's assume we have some really talented guy and has unlimited resource and time, and how long it would take such a person to get to city level?
It's a tough question. Look, Japan. Japan, they have all the resources, they have all the waves, incredible talent. In my opinion, living there, I mean, I lived there for many years. The most beautiful style that I've seen in surfing have been from Japanese surfers. They surf so beautifully,
Yeah.
But when it comes to
The tour.
putting the jersey and winning. There's something missing there. I don't know what it is. The talent is there, but no CT surfer yet from Japan, which blows my mind.
Maybe I think the competition maybe is another kind of thing.
Yeah.
Mentally, like
That's
you need
right.
to do a lot of tours and
Yeah.
competitions to
Yeah.
be able to.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
So
That's
it,
why we also have our national domestic tours.
yeah. So it's hard to tell how quick you can make to the CT, but sometimes you have a freak talent, like even if he's from Mongolia, like just, but he was born to be a surfer champion.
Yeah.
You never know. It can come. The thing with China, you have a big population here, so
Yeah.
I would say this. I know you asked about the CT, and I indirectly work for the WSL and all that.
Yeah.
I think the most important thing in surfing is not be the best surfer in the world or be that competitive or that good. I think Kelly said that back in the day. The best surfer is the one that has the most
The
fun.
most fun. I think that's too.
And that's what I saw here. I saw
Yeah,
here
yeah.
like so many guys and girls having so much fun. I didn't see a single argument in the water. Everybody was smiling. Everybody was super stoked. And I think, that's what surfing's about.
Yeah,
If it stays this way, if I come back here, many years from now, which I probably will,
Okay.
and it's still that way, I'll be very happy. So my message is don't lose that kind of genuine love for the sport.
Okay.
And yes, if someone makes the tour, great. But I think the most important is just to be one of the few places in the world that you can surf in peace. You can enjoy, make friends, have a beer afterwards, and life is too short, and there's just too much crap out there, people fighting and all that stuff. And I love the fact that I can come here and get great waves and make new friends. And sounds cliche, but I do mean it. That's it. And thanks for the hospitality. I love China. Happy New Year for everybody. Xin and Hao.
Thank you.